Today I wanted to talk to you all about the new feature we have. It is Cypher access policies. We're going to go over how you can actually control access to the different Cypher items through policy. Before we get started on that, I'm going to give you an overview of the environment that I've set up so that you can understand how all of this is going to tie together. So what I have here is 3 users, Cypher 1, 2, and 3. And you can see I have 2 different roles, Cypher Access Role 1 and Cypher Access Role 2. Cypher User 1 and 3 are both in Role 1, and Cypher 2 is in Role 2. If we go look at those roles, I've done very little with them. So the Access role, nothing really available except for the dashboard and read access on Cypher for Role 2. And under Role 1, I've given a little bit more. So that role actually has access to admin profiles, because I'm going to get into that a little bit since we have the cloud profiles that affect Cypher, as well as infrastructure clouds based off of the group. And then you will see under Cypher, this user, or this role, I should say, actually has full decrypted. So you have all of these different capabilities here. For this one, we're with full decrypted. Now, the reason we have 2 different capabilities set up is to show you how all of the permissions tie in and what supersedes what. The role permission is going to supersede everything, no matter what you put into a policy. So we're just going to show that off a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the policies I have. And the policies actually follow a regex matching, and the precedence is taken on the longest matching string length. What that means is for this one here, if we look at our Cypher Role 1 root access, we have some ciphers secret /AWS /.star. So everything beyond that slash, we want to make sure that these users can list. We've applied that to the role here. And now any user that is attached to that role should be able to at least list all of the secrets that are within this path. You can see the same thing here for Role 2, except we went a little bit further here and we have US West 1 /.star. That means that for this role, they should only be able to see everything beyond this point, and you'll see how that operates right now. I'll go over to my users, and I'm just going to go ahead and impersonate Cypher 1. Now you can see everything in here is accessible, or listed, I should say. If I go to decrypt, it shows this is not allowed. If I try to remove it, it is restricted by policy. So you're unable to do anything with these other than list them out as it stands right now. We'll quit impersonating and we will go over to user 2, or Cypher 2 here. And now you see, since we set the policy with a read access here, it only sees access key and secret key exist. But you can see here, we can't even decrypt here, and we have no access to the buttons. Remember, Cypher 2 is a member of the role that it only has read access to Cypher. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the policies, and we're going to enable a couple of more policies here that I've already pre-created. And you can see where these are scoped to. So I've got another one with read access, which will allow us to decrypt the secrets at that path. So a little bit further in, when we were talking about the longest regex is what is taken. So at secret AWS /star, they're able to list. Now if I go a little bit further and I say US East 1.star and put read, everything from there on I should be able to decrypt, provided within the role I have that capability. And that's what we're going to show. You do also have to have whatever sub permission that you would have on the shorter list or the shorter length here as well. So if I detach list from this, the user would have access to read it, but they wouldn't actually list it. Since this is the longest string, that is the permission that would be taken. And I'll show you that real quick. I'll go ahead and remove list. And we'll go log in as Cypher1 again. And we go over here to Cypher. And, oh, I have to actually enable it for it to work. That would help. So enable it. So you just saw that it was still listing them all out, so none of this was actually taking place. We'll go ahead and enable that, and we'll try again. I thought I was going crazy. Back over to Cypher, and there you go. So now we only see US West 1 instead of all 4. So back over to the policy, and we will go ahead and set list back up. So now we can list and read at this level. We'll save changes, and then we'll also go ahead and enable this one that gives us that little bit further in too for read and list. Now, again, theoretically, you should be able to decrypt and read a password if you have this. However, Cypher access to role, clicked in here, didn't even enable it. It's a bad habit. The role itself does not allow anything beyond read, so that will supersede what this policy is saying, and we will see that in just a minute. So once again, back over to user Cypher1, and now we can decrypt our super secret access key and our super secret key. However, because we focus those on US East 1, we can come here and we are not allowed to decrypt here. Okay, and we still do not have access to delete. Quit impersonating here, and we will go find user 2. And you can see nothing has changed. So because the role has dictated that Cypher2, anyone inside of that role only has read access, it doesn't matter what I put into the policy, I cannot grant any extra permissions. Now, up until this point, everything that I've been able to do with Cypher1, I would also be able to do with Cypher3, as they are both within the same role. What we're going to go do now is actually look at this policy here. And this one, we will put in a key path for just a little bit further. So if you look here, we've got the .* there. We're going to update this policy here. And to make it just a little bit longer, we'll go ahead and put the / in there. And now we'll give full access to everything inside of here, but only to the user. You see it's scoped to Cypher1 here. So now we'll go back over here and we will impersonate Cypher1. Make sure I enabled that. I've been not doing that this whole time. Yep, look at that. Okay. Now we're enabled. All right. Go back to the policies, or I'm sorry, the users, and impersonate Cypher1. Go to the tools. We can decrypt. Okay. Now we can also delete if we want to. Okay. Go and add it back in. Now I'm going to show you something here. So if we do AWS, we just call this access key, try to save it. We are not allowed to do that because we didn't have access to write within this path. Okay, so we actually do need to put in US East 1 / access key. And now it works. So within this path, this user has access to write and delete. Now, if we go over to Cypher 3, our third user here, go ahead and impersonate. You see it all looks the same here. Decrypt, we can decrypt. But if I want to remove, I am restricted by policy. So you can get pretty granular with how you set these all up, just depending on what your requirements are. Going to recommend that you are separating out your secrets by path, so that way you can grant access as needed to those different areas. So another thing that I wanted to touch on, just to show, we talked a little bit on the cloud profiles, and I've got this policy here attached to my AWS cloud for TFVARs and Terraform variables. You can see I've got everything applied to it, and our Cypher 1 user, once again, actually has access to the cloud. Actually, Cypher 3 does as well, but the policies do not affect cloud profiles. So that is actually handled directly in the role, and it is going to be role-based. So anybody with that role that has permissions for the profiles can modify them. And I'll show you that here. There's a couple of places, like I said, admin profiles. If that role has full access, they'll be able to do whatever they want to that. Now that profile is stored in Cypher, but the Cypher policies do not affect access to this. So you have to have that capability, and you also have to have infrastructure clouds. And as you can see, I've tied this to the group for this role, and I got a group called Cypher Guys, which I have granted access to the AWS cloud. So if I go back in for Cypher 1, we go to the cloud, and we see the profile here, and you can modify whatever you want. Because you have full access and not read access within that role. But if you notice, this was not showing up in Cypher because we have not explicitly granted access to view that profile from within a policy. But because you have it right here, that access, just being able to view it from within Cypher doesn't really do you a whole lot, since you can affect it right there. But we can go ahead and go to the policies, and we can enable this. And log back in as Cypher 1 again. And now you see there it is. We can decrypt it. Now you can't update any Cypher directly from here, so you have to do it from the actual profile itself. But if we wanted to, we could delete it. I'm not going to do that right now, though. So that's about it. That is how you manage the access to different Cypher items using policies. And again, the access policy is actually called type Cypher access. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know. Thank you.